Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce, and this gunpowder, accurate number 2, along with Alliant Red Dot, are the two most dangerous powders you can reload with, and I'll tell you why. Inherently, there is nothing wrong with these two gunpowders. They're engineered just fine. Their chemical makeup is just fine and dandy. There's no problem with them, but they have some burn characteristics that make them attractive to new reloaders, and those same burn characteristics also make them more dangerous to the mistakes that new reloaders tend to make. So if you are new to reloading or want to start reloading your own ammunition, then you want to listen to this video definitely. The very first cartridge I started reloading over 20 years ago was 45 ACP, and here we have a sampling of that right there. 45 ACP, it's a lead cast bullet. And I used accurate number 2 powder. I did the math and I figured out that I could make this as cheap as possible, the cheapest possible loads, using locally available accurate number 2. And it worked very, very well. I mean, there's a reason why I bought several pounds of this and loaded thousands upon thousands of rounds of 45 ACP for my various 45 caliber pistols, such as this 1911. The main problem with accurate number 2 happens to also be the main reason why I chose it as my first powder to reload ammunition with, and that is the fact that it is a very powerful, very fast powder that can be loaded down to very, very small quantities. Let's go ahead and go to the blackboard behind me here with my new colored chalk. Okay, let's say we have the case. That's the 45 caliber case, and we stick a bullet on top of it here. So let's just go ahead and that bullet will go down about here into the case. So we've got a little bit of overlap, of course, with the brass and the bullet. But then all this area right here is for gunpowder. And the gunpowder, if you're just loading accurate number 2, you're going to have just this amount of gunpowder down to bottom. And what's really cool about accurate number 2 is it is okay. It does not have any kind of ignition issues. Some powders will not let you load down below half the case volume because it won't have good ignition qualities, and it could actually have weird spiking issues with pressures. But accurate number 2 seems to be fine with that. So you can load it way, way down like this and still meet the minimum power factor of shooting out of a 1911 or any kind of 45 caliber pistol, and it still function. Let's go Olympic. Have you ever done that? I've never done the whole, let's see what this is like here. I've never done it with I have no idea where I hit that on the steel, but steel was wrong. The problem is, if you're a new reloader, you're going to make mistakes. And one of those mistakes that commonly happens is, oops, a double charge. You accidentally put 2 times the amount of powder in your bullet, or maybe even 3 times. You could possibly fit a 3rd charge. If you're using minimum specs, minimum powder charges, you could possibly fit 3 charges of accurate number 2 into that case. How does a double charge happen, you ask? Well, it's very common, very easy to do on a progressive press when you're new to reloading. One of those stages on a progressive press is you pull the handle down, it pushes the whole carriage up to push all the different cases into their respective dies. And one of those dies is a powder drop die that has a pre-measured load of gunpowder, and it drops that into the case. Now, what if something happens? You pull down, it drops that gunpowder into the case, and let's say it gets stuck. A primer could get stuck, a case could get lodged sideways, a case gets stuck in the resizing die, which is the first stage usually of the progressive press stages. And you maneuver the handle up and down a little bit, not knowing that you just added a 2nd or 3rd charge into that case, because it's just doing what you're telling it to. And if you're going 1,000 rounds at a time, it's very easy to mistake this much powder for this much powder when you're just glancing down to make sure there's some gunpowder in it. That is the main issue with accurate number 2 powder. Now, I have used a ton of this stuff, not literally of course, but this is probably my 2nd or 3rd pound, and this is almost 2 quarters, that's a half. This is almost half gone. And so I've used several pounds, but the combination of being a new reloader using accurate number 2 on a progressive press is a very dangerous combination unless you really watch what you're doing. Unlike accurate number 2, I've only bought 1 pound of this red dot powder 15 years ago when I started reloading 9mm, and it is still mostly full because I do not like using this powder. Not because it's a bad powder, it's a great powder. I only bought this because I could reload 9mm very cheaply with this. But unfortunately, I only use progressive presses for 9mm reloading to speed everything up and make it worth my time and effort. I always use a very small charge for 9mm because I'm using a minimum power factor for USPSA competitions. And many reloading manuals warn against using small charges in 9mm with red dot powder. But why is that? Let's go back to the board now. I'll show you why this is dangerous in a scenario on a progressive press. Okay, here is our 9mm case, of course enlarged for your viewing pleasure. And here is the powder die going down. We've already moved the case up into the location to receive the gunpowder through the powder dropping die. One of the characteristics of red dot powder is the fact that it's a very large, flat, flake type powder. And that can bridge. If you're just dropping just a tiny bit of red dot powder, then these flakes will travel down, but sometimes it can bridge and stop right there and get stuck. So your powder drop, if it's not a heavy powder drop, there's not enough to clear through that and make sure it all falls into the case. So you might just get a couple of sprinkles of red dot powder in this one case. You look down while you're throwing that lever on your progressive press 1,000 times a day, and you see a little bit of gunpowder in the bottom, you think, great, that's fine, and you pull the lever again. But then this case goes on, and the next case comes up, and not only does a normal charge of red dot powder come down, but also that right there, the leftovers from the previous case also drop into your 9mm case, and you end up with an almost double charge of red dot powder. You either A, best case scenario, you end up with a +P+ style ammo and your gun might be able to handle that a couple times, or worst case scenario, you get the new nickname Four Finger Freddy. After experiencing this several times in one reloading session, I began to worry, do I have a ticking time bomb sitting in one of my ammo cans of 9mm ready to take off a finger because I missed one of those at some point. So I actually took apart all of my red dot reloads and reloaded them with another powder. Now I'm going to give you several options for powders that may be available locally to you, because one of the major expenses in reloading is getting the products to you, because it may be more expensive to buy it locally, but you don't have to pay the hazmat fee, because hazmat fees is the extra shipping for powders and primer that you got to pay the shipping service, and it's quite a big expense. So what I would recommend, look around locally for either a bullseye powder. I like bullseye, it's very easy to load and very forgiving. Let's see, power pistol. Power pistol's another one that's good for, of course, we're focusing on powders that you would be using red dot or accurate number 2 for, so pistol style powders. Let's see, tight group. Tight group's also a very good one. I've actually not seen tight group in a long time, so that might be a unicorn that I've got still on hand. And unique powder. Unique is a very old powder. Now, if you shoot unique, please be warned, this is a very smoky powder. It even says clean or burning. Clean and burning my ass. People are going to think you're rolling coal with your Glock. You're not. You're just burning a gunpowder that was invented in probably 1899. These are what I would recommend looking out for instead of trying to save a buck by loading very, very small quantities of accurate and red dot powder. Now let me know down in the comments if you've had similar issues with your number 2 or red dot powders, and what gunpowder do you use for your pistol loading activities. And make sure you check out my link down below for the Let Me Cozy Fit earbuds. They are fantastic. I think they're only 40 bucks, and I think I've got a discount code for that, so check those out. And as always, you guys have a great day. See ya.